Hello,
Hi.
how are you, Kurt?
Good. Can you see and hear me?
I can hear you and I can see you. Yes.
Awesome.
Looks like you got some lights up there, like very Christmassy
Yep, exactly. It's always Christmas here.
already. Are you in your studio right now? Or
Yeah. I'm
oh
in
my gosh.
south of Nashville in Columbia.
Ah,
Yeah, I've got just all sorts of instruments.
oh my goodness.
Uh,
How many of instruments do you play?
Pretty much everything except guitars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was brass player growing up and then picked up Irish whistles and then always been dabbling in synthesizers and keyboards
Oh my
and
goodness.
then percussion. It's easy to pick up and yeah, ukuleles, all that sort of stuff.
Oh,
Nice.
I know this is an obvious question to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How did you get started with music? Did you start?
Yeah, our my whole family is musical. My mom was a choir director and an organist and a voice teacher. My dad played cello and sang in choir at the church, and so I grew up singing in choir with him. But then I've got two older brothers, 10 and 12 years older, that
Mhm.
are musical. All of us have been teachers at one point or another, except my dad. All of us have been music teachers, so we all just kind of just fit that mold. And I've been around music all my life. So, I picked up trumpet in junior high, but then right away was picking up, I don't know, I was geeky, I was weird. I was exploring, experimenting with synthesizers and reel-to-reel tape recorders back in high school. I was studying my mom's college theory books, trying to figure that out in junior high
Oh,
and
good.
just started arranging things right away. And so it was like, yeah, this, I think I can, do a good job at this. And just, yeah, that's the direction it went.
At what stage of life were you when you started working on VeggieTales? I know you were at church, and I think Phil approached you.
Yeah, so I had my music education degree. I had been a general music teacher in the Bahamas for 6 months, which was a fun little adventure.
Oh,
Then I became a junior high band director in the Chicago suburbs. And while I was there, I got involved in Park Community Church, which was a very contemporary, cutting edge church in downtown Chicago, kind of fashioned after Willow Creek, real seeker sensitive. And it was a great target audience. There's so many young people, so many singles down there looking, searching. And they're Park Community Church has exploded into like 8 or 9 campuses. So after band directing, I got involved there to help with the music because I was finding, oh, I can arrange, I can conduct, I can sing, I can play, I can do all these different things, wear a lot of different hats, which I'd rather be, instead of being really, really good at one thing, I'd rather be a hack at a bunch and fake my way through it. That's an overgeneralization, but there's some truth in that. So I got to do all these different things. So over time, that part-time job at the church became full-time. So I was a director of music at this church for 6 years. And in that church, I was a very creative church. In that church were the founding members of VeggieTales. Phil Vischer, Bob the Tomato, his wife, Lisa Vischer, who has a gorgeous voice. I worked with her all the time. She's the voice of Junior Asparagus.
right.
And then Mike Naraki, Larry the Cucumber, he was at that church also.
Oh,
And on that first episode, except for one animator, all the voice talent is from that church. So it really goes to show what can happen out of the local church. So
Hmm.
yeah, so Phil and Lisa approached me about helping with the music. They had no budget. It was a really neat, interesting story. Phil was a computer animator. Mike was a video editor, and they wanted to do something in Christian entertainment for kids, and they just didn't see anything that was really engaging that they thought was funny.
right.
So they were like, "Well, let's just write our own thing." They had met in at a college up in Minnesota in a puppetry team. And so they were always bouncing ideas off of each other and always being creative. And then you see the influence of Monty Python and those sorts of
Hmm.
things. So basically all of us were saying, hey, we're just, if it makes us laugh, then we'll trust that it's funny for others. So that's where you get that multi-layer. This is for the kids, but there's plenty of stuff for the adults that they
Yeah.
get, cultural references, jokes, all of that sort of stuff. And that's what keeps adults coming back like, okay, I'm willing to watch this with my child because I'm finding it funny also. But here's the funny thing. When you try to pitch to all of the big names in Nashville or Christian entertainment, hey, we got this show. It's talking vegetables. They don't wear any clothes. They don't have any arms or legs, and they tell Bible stories. That's just, people are like, well, I don't know about that. And so we didn't get picked up. So the another beautiful story is in Phil's community group, his small group at the church. One of the gentlemen said, look, I see you have a dream, and you need to move forward with this. I'm going to take money out of my retirement fund and lend it to you. And so it was with $60,000, we made that first show. And I was the last one to get paid all the time because I already had a job at the church at the time.
Mm.
So like, okay, you're okay. You can fend for yourself. And later on, it did catch up. So I did get paid. But so we made that first episode, Where's God When I'm Scared, independently released it, mail order, catalog Christian magazines. Hey, order your copy. And it was out of that somebody from Everland, which is the children's entertainment wing of Word Records, got one of those and said, "Hey, this is really interesting." And they're serious about this because they did this first one on their own. And so then they reached out, and that's when we started. I think it was a 6 and then 12 episode contract with Everland. And then from there, it just kept growing.
So was Where's God When I'm Scared the first soundtrack you ever did, or had you done other soundtracks before?
I've always dabbled in synthesizers and arranging, and I was doing that every week at church. I'm doing my own arrangements for offertories, and so that was nothing new to me. But for all of us, it was the first time to ever do something to video, to picture like this.
Yeah.
And so that was a new experience for me. And in fact, if you listen, I'll jump back for a second because I never quite answered your question. So Phil didn't have any money to say, hey, let's go to Nashville and get a top-notch producer. So he said, hey, Kurt, we hear you every week. We think you could do a good job with these songs. Would you like to help us? And I said, yeah. I mean, not on the basis of the success I saw in it, but in the basis of what I saw in Phil and Mike and their determination to do something with this. I could tell, I mean, it's purposely at a silly level, but there's so much depth underneath the reason for doing that.
Mhm.
And I could see that right away. So I was like, yeah, I want to be a part of this, whatever that means. So that's how I got involved. And then, so yeah, that very first show, it's progressed since then. Where's God When I'm Scared? Most of that is music, songs with lyrics. And most of those Phil wrote himself. Then I came in
Okay.
and arranged them, sequenced them, added all the instruments, added what style is it going to be, and that sort of stuff. As time went on, then we started adding more score, background music, and that's where it became a little more complicated for me. And then we started co-writing more. Mike Naraki started writing most of the silly songs, and we would co-write all those together because both Mike and Phil have an astounding sense of what's funny and hooks, but they don't necessarily know how to finish out a song. So then I'd
Yeah.
come in and go, okay, that we need to change this. We need double this chorus. We need to do this and that. How about this? And then finish arranging it. And with Mike on the silly songs, he would come to me with an idea. Oh, for example, where's my hairbrush? He had the hook that everybody knows that you're singing right now. Da 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 da. But then the rest of the song, I built out kind of to make it a mini operetta. The funny thing is that was all going to be spoken. Why do you need a hairbrush? You don't have any hair. And Lisa, Phil's wife, was in the studio recording, and she said, I think I could sing this instead of just saying it. So then it was, why do you need a hairbrush? You don't have any hair. So all of a sudden, it became this mini operetta that always comes back to this hook, this chorus, oh, where's my hairbrush? But we're telling a 2 or 3 minute story right there.
The first one was mostly songs and stuff. Which episode would you say, like, okay, now this is what I would consider a score? Like you can at least.
Okay, good question. I think for myself, Madam Blueberry really stands out because first of all, that was the first time Mike had directed an episode. And so it took a little longer for us to find the balance, the mix. Like, oh, I would try this idea. Now it didn't quite work. Okay, I'd try this idea. And then we'd land on an idea. But that one also needed a lot of score. And it's a very emotional and powerful story. So I felt like, okay, there's a lot of room for some music in here to help carry the story along. So I feel like that one was one of my favorite earlier episodes. And to get to use, I'm always using, whenever I can, live instruments now. So that one's got some trumpet and some saxophone and other things that I play. And then the rest of it is in the computer and samples and synthesizer stuff. But yeah, that one stands out for me.
How do you decide on what kind of, I don't know what the correct word is, like flavor? Because VeggieTales has quite a different diverse. There's a big difference between Larry Boy and
Yeah.
King George the Ducky.
Yeah.
You know, they're like polar opposite in some cases. How do you know like, okay, this is the kind of tone I'm going for now versus what I
Yeah.
did last episode.
Some people have called me a Swiss Army knife of music because I, just like I said before, I tend to be a hack at a lot of things, and so, or a chameleon. So let's take Barbara Manatee. Barbara Manatee, you are the one for me. That's a silly song with Larry and his love for Barbara Manatee on the cooking show. Mike decided that was going to be a tango. So then we literally researched tangos. I had not written a tango before. Mike and I watched the movie Tango together, which is a little awkward. Um, then I got a bunch of tango albums and I started listening to them and studying them. Okay, what are the rhythms? What are the instrumentation? What are the chord structures that I like? And I had a whole page full of notes, chord structures. And then as we started building out the song, I would pull from all my favorites that I already knew fit within a tango and started building it out from there. And so then you get a legitimate tango. And I think the one of the successes of silly songs, there's two things. There's the most successful silly song has a double layered meaning to it. So you've got some adult angst in it, like gated community, the woes of living in a gated community, or SUV. Why do you need an SUV just to go get a loaf of bread? We're dealing with adult situations, and yet the song itself is silly and childlike. So that's one of the successes of silly songs. The other is oftentimes I'm writing legitimate music. Barbara Manatee, there's nothing funny about the music I wrote. It's a legit tango. So you get that juxtaposition against a singing, limbless, nude cucumber singing about his love for an albino manatee on a cooking show. And that's where the humor comes in, because we see the humor as the outside viewer, but Larry is taking it very seriously. The music is taking it very seriously. So that's part of that double layer of humor. It's like, I don't need to write humorous music. And one of the things that kept me interested was I never felt like I was writing kids' music. I felt like I'm writing good, as well as I can, good music that happens to be for kids. And in that, we've introduced kids to a whole lot of different styles of music, polkas and tangos and disco and you name it. And the adults can hear the little references to things they've grown up on and that sort of stuff.
How long does it take to do like a silly song, like to make a score for a silly song and a score for an entire episode of VeggieTales? Like, how long does that process usually?
Yeah, it's been all over the map on those very first silly songs, because I would keep track of my hours because I was getting paid by the hour. I think the hairbrush took 20 hours of me just sitting and arranging and stuff. Then when I came on full time, we were releasing 2 or 3 episodes a year, which seems ludicrous these days because you binge watch 12 episodes of something that just gets dumped in your lap. Back then, it wasn't the same. We were only dealing with Barney, and there wasn't that much out there. So the next release of VeggieTales was anticipated very much. So I would have 4 to 6 months to be working on an episode, which is great. I mean, there were other things I was working on, that maybe it was the Christmas CD or something else like that, but that gave us a lot of back and forth, like, okay, that's not quite working, let's pull back. I mean, there was one silly song that I think we completely rewrote 3, maybe 4 times.
Oh, wow.
Before it ended up, just because we're like, okay, it's just not working. So that gave us that luxury. Now in today's world, we don't have that luxury anymore. I work freelance when I write scores and music for products, and usually it's a very tight deadline. It's now I'll give you an example, and this isn't tight. This is nice. Mike Naraki is working on a new series called The Dead Sea Squirrels,
Right.
which
Yeah.
we've already come out with the first season. It's on Minnow. You can stream it on Minnow. It's hilarious. I think it's not VeggieTales in any way, but you can like, this has the DNA of VeggieTales, because the humor is multi-leveled. My college son, I took him to some of the premieres, and he was laughing as much as the kids were, because there were things that he was totally getting that the kids weren't. So we're just starting into our season 2, and roughly I have a month per episode, which is about 24 minutes. So you're looking at, a minute a day, 2 minutes a day, depending on, because Sometimes there's songs in there also, and those take longer than score generally.
Right.
So that's a pretty doable schedule. And I've worked on much tighter deadlines, but the challenge with that is you don't always get the best product because you don't have time to go back and forth like, oh,
Yeah.
that's not quite working, but we don't have time or budget to go fix that. We have a deadline. And so it's like, okay, I guess that'll do. Hopefully you get it close and everybody's happy. But that was the beauty of having more time in the heyday of VeggieTales. We were trying to put out a top quality product
Right.
and had the time to do it.
So they give you an idea of what they'd like or sound that music to be, and then you start, coming up with it, and then you just build off of that.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Usually,
Okay.
both Mike and Phil have some pretty clear inspirations. I don't write any lyrics. Mike and Phil write
Right.
those. So I don't come up with those crazy, wacky ideas. But the fun thing is, like Yodeling Veterinarian of the Alps, Mike wanted to combine a polka that had yodeling, but also he wanted this interstitial of, and I don't remember who the guys group was, but back in the 50s and 60s, there were all these guy groups that would sing harmonies with their acoustic guitars, the so-and-so brothers. He wanted that as the storytellers. There once was a man who lived da 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 da, and then it breaks into the polka. So here's two different ideas that, to my knowledge, have never been combined in a song. So that's my challenge and fun, is to say, okay, let's take two completely different styles and now let's
Hmm.
bring them together into one song. That's happened pretty frequently, that because they're not musical in that sense. They're going, hey, I like this and I like that. They don't know to think, oh, would that work? They just say, hey, can you make it work, Kurt? And then we have fun then experimenting with that. Yeah.
With Dead Sea Squirrels, are you doing all the music in your studio by yourself, like the instruments and
Yeah,
everything?
I'm doing all the score, and then the other amazing thing on that is we've got Steve Taylor as one of the executive producers on it. Steve Taylor, for some of your audience, is like, whoa, he's like a legend in Christian
Yeah.
music because he came out with so much stuff that was sarcastic and kind of challenging. And Mike was a big fan of his. And so now they're working together as executive producers on it. So I write all the score. And yes, I do it in this studio. I've got all sorts of, I do all my electronic sampling, but then I've also got hundreds of instruments in here that anytime I can pick up a live instrument and play it along to the rest of my stuff, it just adds a level of authenticity to it. So I
Mm.
write all the score here. Then every episode has a song in it. And the fun thing that we do is Mike and I write one song, and then in the next episode, Steve and Mike write the song, and then I write the next song. So we flip flop, and then Steve's got
Nice.
his own producer, John Mark Painter, he's incredible, and so he does that to his stuff. So you get a nice variety of music, and you hear Steve Taylor as a couple of the voices and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's cool.
You mentioned before that you would do a lot of the VeggieTales CDs. Are there any of those that are your favorites? Because there's a lot from what I've seen.
We did actually, I think our very first one, the very first Christmas CD
Hmm.
was kind of special. I mean, when I listen to it now, it feels dated, it feels thin. It's not, as fully produced, but that was 30 years ago. And we didn't have the technology we have now. But the fun thing about that was it was my idea. I was like, hey, I've got a little extra time. What if we do something? What if we do a Christmas CD? And they jumped at the idea. And being Mike and Phil, they created a whole story out of it, a Christmas party at one of the houses, and so there's this ongoing dialogue, and again we got to bring in all different styles of music from different parts of the world. It won a Dove Award, which was for me amazing because that was my first time to win a Dove Award, and I was just a church music director, so that was pretty cool. A lot of the ones since then have actually been produced by other people besides me. All the sing-along songs, the scripture CDs, the Veggie Rocks, Veggie Goes Country. A lot of those, since I simply didn't have time to do that and work on the videos, they would have a different producer and sort of a different library of sounds. So you might go, oh, they sound a little different in style. Yeah, that's fine. It's just somebody else's interpretation of the music.
Hmm. And by the way, that's one of my favorite CDs, by the way, too. My wife and I listened to that like 3 times on Christmas last year. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. You've done two like feature film lengths. What's the difference between doing like an episode of VeggieTales versus like Jonah and the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything? What are
Yeah.
the main differences?
Big differences are the time frame, the budget, the quality. We're working on those a lot longer. I had the luxury because a lot of people that are scoring don't have this luxury, but I was writing about a minute of music a day. In the morning, I would write, basically mock up my ideas
Mm.
and then have, for example, the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, because that was more recent. I remember it better. Mike would then come in, listen to it, make any notes, maybe change something. If he didn't change it, then I would continue filling that out. And I have on my template on my computer, I've got one right here. I've probably got 350 sounds loaded up when I just load it up.
Hmm.
So that's all these different string sounds and trumpets. I mean, everything in the orchestra, I've got multiple versions of it. So I don't have to load up all these different sounds. I've got them right there. I can I can create what the orchestra is going to sound like. Then when that gets approved, and here's the big difference with the movies, we used a live orchestra and a live choir, fully live orchestra. So then that minute of music, once it's approved, goes to an orchestrator who takes my files and then splits them out to make sure they're playing correctly in the different parts of the orchestra, and then makes it look fancy so they can read the music. And then, at the end of that process, then for Jonah, we went to Seattle and spent a week recording a symphony there. And for Pirates, we went to Prague, Czech Republic, and spent a week recording an orchestra there. And Jonah, we had a small choir also. So there's just a lot more pieces to the puzzle, but the process itself is similar. I mean, you're still writing music to picture, trying to draw out the emotion and the pacing and help the story along.
Was Jonah and Pirates the first time you had your music put to an orchestra, like a full-fledged orchestra?
Full orchestra. We had done things before, when we did Esther, that was kind of our test for a movie. So I used a string section, and then the rest of it I used in my computer. So then we kind of upped the expectations, started using some more live instruments. And there's always been times that I'll bring in, for a silly song, it might be a bass player or a drummer. For other stuff, it might be a string section. It might be an electric guitar. So there's a lot of times that I bring in live instruments if I don't feel comfortable creating them in my studio myself, because any brass parts I can do because I'm a brass player. All those sorts of things I can do myself. But that was the first time to do it with a full live orchestra.
Wow.
Was that like a big milestone for you in terms of your career? Like, holy cow, this is a big, like, like what was that like hearing it played?
Yes, it's, you know what? Okay. It was
Mhm.
definitely, but there's a part of me that's like, okay, I can't get caught up in the wow. I'm still listening to the minutia. Is that working? Did the trumpet play out of tune? What do I need to do? We've got a couple people in the booth, catching things. It's hard for me to step away from it. I'll give you an analogy. I also do professional photography on the side.
Oh,
And I do a lot of concerts, a lot of artists, Amy Grant, Michael W. Smith, K-Love, Fan Awards, K-Love Cruises. And sometimes I was literally just thinking about this. I did a cruise for Michael W. Smith, Alaska cruise, and I'm photographing the concerts. And I realized it is hard for me to step out of my photography role and listen and enjoy the concert, because I'm focused on, okay, what's the best angle of him? Okay, he's in a good light here. I'm thinking about all of that. So it's hard for me to just go, wow, I'm going to enjoy this concert. And I do. I mean, trust me, it's wonderful. I love it. But it's kind of the same way. It's like, okay, I'm always focused. Okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? And that's part of just my personality. It's hard to just kind of relax and let go. Now, the cool thing about Prague was I got to bring my daughter. She was in high school at the time. So like each evening after the recording sessions, we'd literally just go wander off into the city and get lost in all these cobblestone streets. And as I look back, I'm surprised I wasn't more nervous about, oh my gosh, I'm recording an orchestra in Europe. I better get this right. I think because we had all pieces in place. By that
Mm.
time, the conductor had the score, he had the click track. It's almost like, okay, I can just, I don't want to say just sit back, but I've done all the heavy lifting already, and now I get to enjoy hearing
Yeah.
what's going on.
This might be silly to ask, but do you have any idea how much music you've made over your career?
No, there's times that we go back to shows and I'm like, I don't remember writing that.
Really?
Yeah, because if I'm writing 1 or 2 minutes a day, it's not like, oh, it's stuck in my head forever. It's like I just wrote that and I'm moving on. And
Mm.
so I've never figured it out because we're up to, I don't know, 45 VeggieTales videos and 2 movies, and then I did 5 seasons of Superbook,
Right.
12 and 13 episodes each. That's
Yep.
full score, wall to wall. And then I've done, a bunch of other series also. Wing Feather Saga, Andrew Peterson's project. I was the music director and one of the composers. We had several players in that, working on the first 2 seasons. Yeah, so I have no idea.
How often do you get to revisit, if ever, your old work? Just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit down and I'm gonna listen to this old soundtrack I made and just see what I think of it now that it's been.
The 2 funny things are, first of all, I'm always, I kind of keep track of my demo reel,
Mhm.
and usually the older stuff doesn't make it into it because it it doesn't sound quite as polished and good.
Mhm.
So I'm always kind of like, oh, that sounds really good. I need to set that aside so I can drop it into my
Mhm.
website and use that as an example. But the funny thing is, just recently, you know how you're scrolling through Facebook and you tap on one thing and then the next day you get 100 related videos.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I tapped on a little VeggieTales thing, and all of a sudden, in the next days, I'm listening to all these little snippets of old classic silly
Yeah.
songs, and some of them I was like, wow, that stands up really well. Others I'm like, feels dated, but others I was like, oh, I'm surprised. But then I go, well, but I also had time to work on things and really hone them in, which I think makes a big difference in some of those.
Over the years, have you ever went through a period of creative discouragement? And if so, do you have any advice for people who are in the midst of creative discouragement and need help getting out?
Every day. Uh, John Williams has said, who I consider the most successful film composer there is. He had said, every time I start a new movie and I see that blank piece of paper, I'm scared. It's like, what am I going to do? And it's so funny. He shared this story. Steven Spielberg, when he did Schindler's List, and he asked John
Mhm.
Williams to score it. And John said, Steve, there's so many better composers that could do such a better job at this than I could. And Steven said, oh, I know, but they're all dead. And I feel that way a lot of times too. When you're just starting something, there's just this fear of stepping into a blank page, the unknown. Is this going to work? And I think I'm amazed if you just start writing something, either you're going to work some bugs out and then find some gold in there, or you're going to find that, that actually worked well. I was just right. Sometimes I guess what I'm saying is don't overanalyze it. Just start creating.
Hmm.
Here's a good way. I interviewed somebody in LA who was a composer, and they said, everybody, and I'm talking about music, but it could be any of the creative.
Mhm.
He said,
Mhm.
everybody writes crap at the beginning.
Right.
You just have to get all that crap out of you. Sorry, that didn't sound good, but it's true.
Yeah.
Get all of that out, and then you start writing good stuff. Even John Williams wrote crap, but that was when he was 17 and
Hmm.
he's 90
Yeah.
or whatever. So it's like we haven't
Yeah.
heard the crap, but we've heard what comes after that. So the more you write,
Mhm.
the better you'll get. And the other thing I think that and I'm not saying this for myself, I've just heard this said, what sets a hobbyist or amateur apart from a professional? The professional, when they have to, they just sit down and write. They don't have a choice. Well, I'll wait for the inspiration to strike me. We don't
Mm.
have that option. So
Hmm.
you just got to sit down and start writing, and you'll be surprised. Out of that writing at times comes something very creative. Generator is deadlines. We could spend as much time as we have, without a deadline, we just keep writing and fixing and tweaking. If there's a deadline, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got to get moving on this. And it kind of filters out a lot of the junk and just forces you to stay focused.
Hmm. What is your favorite genre to listen to just for listening pleasure? Just like
Good
listen.
question. I right now, simply because it's one of the channels. I don't listen to a lot of stuff at home, but when I'm in the car, I've got Sirius, and I have the whatever it is, 40s jazz
Yeah.
channel on a lot, because I don't know, I just like to hear uplifting, fun music. I like
Yeah.
early jazz. I like Dixieland. Now I do love, because I grew up being a brass player. I love a good big brass piece. But if all of that is saying, I don't listen to a lot of pop.
Mm.
I don't listen to. I have to research what's contemporary. We need it to sound contemporary. Okay, I need to go listen to some stuff, as opposed to
Mm.
off the top of my head saying, oh, you mean it's like, so and so artist. So I don't keep up as much on the contemporary stuff.
Film scores play a really big role in the story all throughout movies. In your eyes, is one of the best movies that you've seen where the film score really complemented the storyline?
I love John Williams and Hans Zimmer are both
Hmm.
just huge influences for me. And my biggest influences were in junior high. In the same year, the original Star Wars came out, and then soon after that, Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out. Those are both John Williams scores, and they're completely different. And I listened to both of those over and over and over. And I loved the way that in Close Encounters, John Williams he's capturing, it's basically sound effects played by an orchestra on a lot of it. And it's just amazing what you hear in that compared to traditional melodic music. And they both came from the same composer. So the Star Wars is a romantic space opera. So it's got this romantic music, romanticized, accessible, majestic, and beautiful for Princess Leia's theme. Close Encounters is a little more abstract. So those sorts of things, to see somebody like that who's a master at it help pull the story along with the music is just incredible, the way that he does that. So those were big influences. And still, I've got a Close Encounters book that I'm reading right now that I'd read it once before, but just because it was such a pivotal point in my life and a pivotal movie for me, never thinking at that time, oh, I'll get to write music for
Mm.
picture or film one day. That was never a goal of mine, because I didn't know you could do it, and I didn't know how you got into that. So that's why I became a music teacher. I thought, okay, I can make a steady living, and I can still enjoy my playing and enjoy arranging at church and those sorts of things. But I never thought, oh, one day I want to be writing to picture. But I think, and I tell this to a lot of college kids when I speak to them, as a musician, try to get as many experiences as you can. Try to get as many tools in your tool belt as you can, because you don't know what you're going to be doing 5, 10 years from now. You think, oh, I'm studying this, but you know what? You're going to end up doing this also. So anything that is remotely related to your interest and your love, it's like, yeah, study it, or go get into your local theater and learn about stage projection, and
Mm.
however that relates, do it. And because then the other thing in today's world, just to be able to say, if somebody's gone that day and they said, hey, can anybody else do this, and you're like, well, I've done some editing in that program, can you do it? Okay, yeah. And then all of a sudden you've opened another door for yourself. So just learning as many tools, you know whether that's tools, instruments, programs, whatever that means, learning as many different ones that you can, so that you can at least get your foot in the door, is huge.
So you've probably met like a lot of people who like know your work and stuff. What is some of the most memorable fan interactions you've had post VeggieTales?
The funny, it's fun because, like I said, I also do a lot of for photography on the side and in Christian circles, and I've been working at one film studio for a number of years as a photographer. And I purposely don't mention anything about my music or my VeggieTales background, because that's not why I was hired.
Hmm.
Plus, it's just kind of
Mm.
fun to see. We'll see if they figured it out on their own. And it was probably 3 years in that one of the ladies that always hires me as a freelancer photographer, she's like, Kurt, get over here. I'm like, oh no, what did I do? I just heard something. And I'm like, oh no, it's just a rumor. And they said, did you do VeggieTales? I'm like, okay, yeah, I did. And then it just opens up this whole other conversation, and it's just fun to do that. And then I was doing which one was it? The summer nights worship cruise with Phil Wickham and Brandon Lake. I was photographing that. That was my job. And as I was photographing, just some random person came up to me and said, there's a rumor going around that one of the photographers was linked to VeggieTales. Was that you? And I was like, no, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I was like, no, yeah, that's me. And then just to see their eyes light up and we share some stories, it's fun. And I appreciate, the fact that, and I understand that VeggieTales is a formative part of a lot of people's lives. And I still pinch myself. It's like, I got to do that. And I've got all the stories that go with it. And I'm still working with those guys. I'm working with Mike on Dead Sea Squirrels, and I'm working with Phil on a little show he's working on. He's starting to get up and running. And I'm writing music for both of them. what are we at now? 32 years later, I'm still getting to write with them, So it's fun to just kind of not toot my own horn, but let others figure it out.
This might be an obvious question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Where does VeggieTales rank in terms of all your like music career?
Oh, definitely top, because so many other doors have opened because of VeggieTales.
Mm.
And I understand I think it's fair to say there were probably 100 or 1,000 other people in the country that could have done what I did at the beginning of VeggieTales if they were in the right place at the right time with the right skill set. And I just happened to be that one, and I was eager to learn and eager to grow. So I realized, yeah, there's people that are way better than me, but I think I understand, what we're doing and the genre and what is needed for a picture and that sort of stuff. So yeah, VeggieTales absolutely ranks at the top just because it's reached so many people, it's influenced so many people. Like I said, it opens other doors for me, and it's just fun. I mean, we moved from Chicago to Nashville 22, 23 years ago. And just to be down in this area where there's so many creatives is also wonderful, because then I'm just having lunch with fellow creators, and I'm playing in the band at church with other people they're touring with so-and-so and they're doing this and they're doing that. And it's just the level is different than other experiences that I've had in the past, because everybody comes to this town to try to make it. And they were the top person in their little town in Arkansas, and they come here and they're like, whoa, there's 1,000 other people that were the top person in their little town. And all of a sudden the bar raises and you get to collaborate with some really creative people.
You mentioned Madame Blueberry. Is that your favorite soundtrack out of all the VeggieTales, or?
Ooh, I think it was a pivotal episode for me. I can't think, some of the Larry Boys are very memorable. The first Larry Boy was so different and cutting edge for us. And I got the 12 voice Moody Bible Institute Men's Glee Club over, and I did that very unorthodox, because we didn't have a budget to hire a choir and do this big score. So what I did is I wrote little snippets for them, like, Larry Boy. And I wrote all these like 20 different snippets. Larry Boy, Larry Boy. So I recorded them first, and now I have them in my library. And now, here comes some action. Okay, the orchestra is building along, and I'm going to stick in the choir here for a phrase and just add this level of something to it. So I have fun with that sense of same thing with this in the studio. Hopefully people are thinking it's a bigger production than it is, and they're not distracted by it. So those were some good ones. In both movies, just that experience was, fantastic for me. So, yeah.
I have a question. I have a theory, and I wonder if you can confirm it. With Rumor Weed, with the trumpet, are you saying words during that?
When I just mentioned the choir, I almost said that as the second example.
Man.
This is something that I did that I've never seen anybody else do. There's a thing called a talk box that guitarists use. They play their guitar, they run it into this, and I'm trying to remember who was it that had a famous solo. Oh yeah. I don't remember who that is. So the talk box, they run their guitar into that. It comes out of a tube that they strap to their microphone. And so literally their guitar sound is coming out the tube into their mouth. And now they can affect the sound of the guitar with their mouth. just whatever you're doing with your mouth
Hmm.
affects the filter of that guitar. So I said, well, what if I did that, but with a trumpet? I can't do them together. So I recorded the trumpet part, da da da, whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah. Blah, blah, bum. Then I run that through the talk box into my mouth and go, rumor weed. So you are hearing me talk through the trumpet.
Okay. Because
Wow.
I was always like second guessing myself. Like I hear it's like I am the rumor weed or something.
Yes, yes. See, that's the sort of thing that I love to do because you're the first one that's ever brought that up in an interview. So it's like,
Oh,
okay, somebody's listening and paying attention, and I'm
Yep.
keeping them engaged by doing something creative that you wouldn't expect on a kids show. Yep, you
yeah.
get a gold star.
Oh man, I'm glowing now. So
Uh,
you also did some voices for VeggieTales. Weren't you part of the like Larry's brothers singing the choir? Like,
Yeah, that I wasn't any famous voices. People, oh, did you do a voice? Well, I was sheep number 3 on the Christmas CD. I
cheap.
was there's a lot of background voices that, just walla, sounds in the background. And there was probably some singing parts in there that I did just as an extra, but people are, kids are disappointed. Like, nope, I'm not none of the voices, but I did play the tuba on the theme song because I say, and in fact, here's the tuba here.
No way. No
There it is.
way. Oh my gosh, that's the OG tuba.
That is technically it's the second OG because we did
Okay.
the theme song twice.
Okay.
We redid it, I don't know, 10 years in. And so on that one I use this tuba. But I tell people, yeah, I had to do that because Larry has no hands. I'm his stunt double to play the tuba. So then they think it's pretty cool, that I played the tuba. And here's the funny thing. I play in a German band now. I led a German band in high school, so it's nothing new to me. It's a name like Heinecke, got a lot of German background. And just for the fun of it, I play in a German band with a couple of really fun guys. And I play tuba, trumpet, trombone, percussion, just like in the studio. I'm playing a bunch of things. And it's happened numerous times where they see my tuba, and it's more of a sousaphone, so I'm wearing it like the one Larry wears. And they don't know who I am, and they just say VeggieTales.
Oh my goodness.
And I go, okay, we've had an influence if people just see a tuba and just say VeggieTales. Then, so after about the first year, we're like, we might as well put this in our song list because it's a polka. And so the funny thing is, we play VeggieTales. We introduce it as, well, we wanted to do this one as a polka. It's a polka. It's not a German song, but it's a polka. Sing along if you know it. And we do the VeggieTales theme song. I start bum, 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 bum. And then at the end of it, Rob, our banjo player, says, okay, and let you in on a little secret here, folks. The original tuba player and co-writer of that song is, and then he introduces me, and I'll get
nice.
about 5 people gasp, what? So that's a fun little thing that we're doing now.
Have you done any like soundtracks for live action films, or is it all?
Yeah, actually, I have probably the biggest ones. I just, well, I mean, I wrote it probably a year and a half ago, but if you go to the Museum of the Bible in Washington,
Mm.
D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
No.
there's a brand new New Testament experience, and it's called The Road to Emmaus. And it's the story of Jesus after the resurrection, meeting 2 people on the road walking to a town, and they don't know who he is, but he's talking to them about their lives and stuff. And it's a famous biblical story. And that was done as a short film, I don't know, 25-minute film that's featured at the Museum of the Bible. And I was asked to score that. So that's my
Wow.
most recent one and ironically, we were in West Virginia 2 weeks ago to see our son and his family. So I drove over to Washington and saw that because I had yet to see it in the museum, to just experience it in that setting. So it was very
Yeah.
cool for me. And that was the second. I also did some music for the Jesus of Nazareth
Mm-hmm.
experience there, where there's background music. And I just finished a full-length film. It was more of an independent family funded film. So it's not something you're going to like see in theaters, but I just finished that 2 months ago. And that was I don't know, 90-minute film that I did. And I haven't done as much live action, but I'm always interested in getting into more of it. There's a video series, actually, again, produced by the Museum of the Bible, that
Mm.
talks about travel and the museum. And I'm scoring those, and those have it's all live action, but it's not a story as much hey, let's go see the temple in Israel. And let's go back to the museum. And so I'm piecing all those, connecting all those together. So yeah, I have done a live action, not as much, like I said, animation. Sometimes you get typecast. It's like, oh, he's the VeggieTales guy. He can only do animation. But that's fair. I get it. And it's been my livelihood, for the past 32 years. So no complaints.
Essentially, you asked all my questions, but we do have one like bonus tag segment at the end where it's called audio ad libs, and I have to ask every guest because people on the show love it. Essentially, if you say yes, we do about like a 90-second improv sketch, and pretty much you get to choose between two different improvs, and then I in post put sound effects and like a little bit of music and kind of turn it into like an Adventures in Odyssey type of thing. So
I'm a little scared, but yes,
little
what am I involved in? What am I doing?
So there's two different prompts that you get to choose because you're the guest. So the two possible ones is man who is afraid of instruments visits a psychiatrist, or a guitar and a piano have a argument over who is better.
Sure, I'll give it a try. Just don't embarrass me.
Okay.
Let's go with the instrument psychiatrist.
All right, all right. Okay, okay. Who would you like to be? Would you like to be the man who's afraid of instruments, or would you like to be the psychiatrist?
Oh, that's a good, you know what? I think I'll go the opposite route and I'll be the psychiatrist.
All right. Josh and I will be two brothers who are afraid of instruments.
And you're visiting me
And we're
at
visiting
this?
you, wanting to talk about it. All right, here we go. Oh boy, Josh. Oh boy, my brother Josh. Here we are at the psychiatrist office, ready to go talk about our problem again. My gosh, I can't believe the harmonica incident brought us to this point where we had to get a court order to go here. What do you think, Josh? This is
And
crazy.
and just think last time it was an accordion incident.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well,
Oh,
I'm hearing
oh, hello, Mr. Psychiatrist man. Thank you for letting us into your office. We'll sit
yeah,
down.
well, I overheard you in the hallway there, and
Oh,
there's definitely an issue that is a common issue actually
oh, really?
with with both the accordion and the harmonica.
Oh,
I've dealt with this before. They're rather obnoxious instruments, and
I
so
hate
I understand your pain and your feeling.
mm,
Have you had any issues with any other instruments?
all of them. We're terrified of all of them. Once time, like a marching band came out and during the football game, I ran out of the stadium under my bed. It was
You know
terrible.
what? I think the
That's why I did that.
easiest and cheapest solution might just be earplugs.
What?
You know,
What? You mean
or
it?
you
That was an
could keep
option?
well, I shouldn't have said that this sooner because you could have kept visiting me for this next year
Oh
weekly.
my gosh. You know what?
Um,
I'll make it up to you. I will give you so many referrals to all my other friends, and I won't tell them about the earplug thing. I'll let you tell them so you can make $100 or something during the session.
well, I maybe if you refer me to more people, I won't mention the earplugs to them. How does that?
Oh.
And yeah, you'll be in on my little secret.
And can I have a cut of the money?
Whoa, now you're getting a little bold here.
Okay. Well, I'll retract my boldness and just buy some earplugs. Josh, are
but
you excited about this?
Well, my golly, I say we have a deal.
All right.
I'll
Thank-
consider though, if you bring in 10 referrals,
10 referrals. Let me write this
then
down.
I'll consider at that point giving you a little cut, a little bonus.
I'll be able to quit my day job. This is great. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
My earplugs. Bye.
See.
Scene. Oh my gosh, Kurt, thank you so much for being willing to do that. That was
Yes.
yes.
That was fun.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, I'll just throw out a couple plugs. I'd already
Yeah.
mentioned Dead Sea Squirrels. That is
Yep.
current, and that is on Minnow. The Superbook series is CBN. That's going to be on their probably website. You can stream. Like I
Yeah.
said, that was a couple years ago, but those are some big, rich Bible stories.
Right.
That it's funny with VeggieTales, everything was light and ooh, make it happier. And Superbook was like, no, we need bigger, heavier hitting when David slays Goliath and more intensity. So it's some intense storytelling, but it's very well done. Museum of the Bible. If you get there, go up to the floor that's got the Road to Emmaus movie, the Jesus of Nazareth, and then they've got an Old Testament experience, which I was not involved in, but it's fantastic. So if you ever go to the Museum of the Bible, you must go see all three of those on that floor. I'm in a German band. Like I said, if any of your listeners are in the Southeast, there's in Cullman, Alabama, it's the northern end of Alabama. They, believe it or not, it's a little German community. I happen to grow up there. I lived there for 10 years, and they have the largest footprint of a German Christmas market, a Christkindl market in the country. And our German band is playing there 14 days. They do a 24-day run, and it's an incredible German market. Just feels nostalgic. They've got a Ferris wheel. They've got a double-decker carousel. They've got, I mean, it's crazy. They've got an ice skating rink, and they've got music every day, multiple groups. And I'm heavily involved in that. So yeah, if anybody's ever out, just look up Cullman, Cullman, Christmas market, and you'll find all the info you need. But yeah, I'm working on a bunch of different things like that these days and having fun with it.
If any of our listeners are like filmmakers and stuff, is there any way that they can contact you for business?
Yes, my website is khstudios.biz, KH as in Kurt Heinecke, studios plural .biz, B-I-Z. Yeah, that's the best way to reach me. And you can also see more about me. You're going to see some links to some other videos, interviews, all my music, library is there. And also my photography. You can see what I do with photography also. So, and also, boy, the GMA, Gospel Music Association, they're opening a new museum right in downtown Nashville. It's their museum and Hall of Fame. And I've been pretty involved in that, providing them pictures from all the concerts I photographed. And in one of their rooms, they've actually got a display kind of feature of a lot of artists' pictures that I took, and I've got others throughout. So that'll be interesting. Anybody that's grown up in Christian music and is like, oh, I want to learn more. That'll be open in October. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great hanging with you guys. Keep me posted.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, and send me a link whenever this gets released or whatever.
We will. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right. We'll take it easy.
Bye.
Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks so much. All right. Bye.